Yo, what's up, people? It's your boy, I'm Krista Don One, and I am back with another video. Man, the truth will set you free. As long as you got the truth on your side, you are good. You are golden, all right? And it's good to be blessed with the truth, all right? Now, I uploaded a video a couple of weeks back explaining to you guys in full detail why there's tension and beef behind the Weapon Wheel podcast and the Big Gamer Small Talk podcast. And a lot of you guys in the comment section got triggered by that particular video, saying this, that, and the third, talking about, you don't know what you're talking about, and that doesn't make any sense, and I'm friends with Zaire, and I am so shocked that you would say something like that about Zaire. Now, I stated this in countless videos, and I'm about to state it again. When it comes to these two particular podcasts, I do not have a hidden agenda with either podcast. I have members from both sides of the podcast that have blocked me on social media, all right? So, for that being said, I have no hidden agenda for either podcast, all right? I wish them the best of luck, but as far as your boy being a rah-rah rooting fan for either podcast, that ain't me, all right? Now, if you would have watched all three of these particular podcasts, Zaire did a live stream, the Weapon Wheel podcast did one also, and the Big Gamer Small Talk also did a podcast later that night. Now, if you're that type of fan that sit through that all three of those podcasts, you would nearly spent 6+ hours dissecting what each one of these live streams were talking about. You could have saved all of that time by watching my video, all right? Zaire said it himself. Zaire, and I told you guys, Zaire was going to go into his spiel on why he has beef and bad blood with Heartache Time. He went into his spiel on about the Skype call, the pedophile, this, that, and the third. He talked about that, and I explained that to you guys on my video, all right? When you go to the Weapon Wheel side of things, they explained why, as far as doing a debate style podcast with the Big Gamer Small Talk podcast, they will not benefit from it, all right? There is no initiative for the Weapon Wheel podcast to do. They're not going to get any more shine than they already have. And the truth of the matter is, it will hurt their brand. You heard BG said that. You heard Heartache Time said that. You heard Jimmy B Gaming said that. You heard Jack Move Johnny said that. You also heard Black Bond said that, all right? I mentioned that in my video 2 weeks ago before all of this went down, all right? Then when you go to the Big Gamer Small Talk podcast, they too talked about this, and they said, and you heard from their mouth, you heard on their side of things, that now they don't want to do a debate style podcast with the Weapon Wheel podcast, because if they accept those terms and agreements that the Weapon Wheel podcast wanted the Big Gamer Small Talk podcast to do, that would hurt their brand, and it's already hurting as we speak, all right? This would not help the Big Gamer Small Talk podcast. This would be considered career suicide. And you heard it from their own mouths why they're not pushing this any further, all right? I told you guys this 2, maybe 3 weeks ago about why there's tension and bad blood with these two particular podcasts, and why these two podcasts will not collaborate and do a debate style podcast. All right. It will be a bad look for the Weapon Wheel podcast because they're not going to get anything out of it. All right. When you're talking about the Big Game Small Talk podcast, they have already been raked through the coals. All right. What more do you want these guys to do? They have already been exposed. All right. So there's no need for the Weapon Wheel podcast to proceed this route because simply they're not going to gain anything from it. And when you look at the Big Gamer Small Talk podcast, this move will be considered a career suicide move, a career podcast move. All right. If they would have went on and accept those terms and also did the debate podcast with the Weapon Wheel podcast, the little fans that continue to show support and love for them would say to themselves, I didn't know that this podcast was about that life. I didn't know that this podcast and the members on this particular podcast was that bad. The Big Gamer Small Talk podcast said a lot of flossy ass shit over the past couple of years, and now people are coming to the realization that you niggas need to show some receipts. You niggas need to stop talking and show some motherfucking receipts, all right? And that's where the position they're in right now. Now, on a side note, this where Zaire's supposed to pay members of the Blood five stacks to, I'm just gonna say, beat up on BG. I wouldn't be pushing this because I don't know if you guys know this, but that is considered a crime. All right, and you don't want the authorities to listen to this nonsense and to take it a step further, thinking that this nonsense is actually true. All right, and as far as anyone in the YouTube gaming community using the Crips and the Bloods, using those gangs as, well, I roll with them, I know them. All right. Dude, stick to what you good in. Stick to the YouTube gaming community. There is no gang member or no gang group that would support people that are on YouTube in a gaming community type form, all right? It's not very beneficial for those gang groups, all right? It's an oxymoron, all right? And it's moronic thinking. So I hope all of you out there that try to downvote my video and criticize me in the comment sections, I hope you're eating a lot of crow, because that crow has to be delicious, because the stuff that I was pointing out, the stuff that I was saying, all right, a couple of weeks back, now you heard it from the source. You heard it from the horse's mouth, all right? These guys just laid it out for you on why it will never happen, why they don't want to collaborate, and why there's tension and a bad history with both podcasts, all right? You had to wait until you heard it from the source, and the source told you and laid it out the same way I laid it out weeks back. All right? But guys, rate, comment, subscribe. Please do not forget to hit that notification bar on my YouTube channel so you'll be informed when my next video is uploaded. It's your boy, I'm Chris the Don One, and I am here.